Hello crafters, my name is Raquel and this is Paints and Glitter. I welcome you to my channel. Today I'm coming along with the newest die set from Tonic Studios, Fairy Tale Tower die set. This is a 20 set die and it's going to allow you to create a little 3D make, which I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to make a tutorial for you and it's super easy to put together, so you'll be able to do this very quickly if you need to, as maybe a little party favor box, or if you're trying to make a centerpiece. I would suggest this little die set because you're going to be able to use it for different themes, even though it is called a fairy tale tower. So a little bit of imagination will take this a long way. And what I'm going to do is also let you know what the pieces are, of course, and then the types of papers that I'm going to be using for this tutorial. Also, the little tower, once it's completed, measures just under 5 inches tall, so it's also a great size to send in the mail, and it fits quite a bit, even though it is not too big, because you can also extend it, and that's another thing I'm going to share with you in this video. So I'm going to set this aside, and here is the die set. So what you're going to receive is a little set like this. By the way, these little magnetic carrier sheets and the little sleeve you can get from Tonic Studios to go ahead and organize all of your die sets. They're super strong magnets. They are double-sided, so once you go ahead and place these into one of your little binders, it'll make it so much easier to go ahead and label what you have, find it super easy, and it keeps you organized and ready to craft. So here, first of all, you have this little base that you can tell has little tabs all the way around, and then on the center of this, the line of this die will actually score into your paper, will not cut, and these tabs are going to be important because this is going to create the base of your little tower. Then you see there are 2 other little hexagons. Those are going to be layering pieces for the lid, as well as a decorative little piece that you can use. And there you see already there are some little flowers you can use, and the centers of those flowers, but of course you could use those separately to decorate the side of your tower. Speaking of the side of the tower is actually going to be created with this die here. And if you're going to be using directional paper, I can already advise you, always remember that the little tabs you see here are actually the top of the tower, not the bottom. So that's going to be a little bit different from maybe other dies from Tonic Studios you've already seen. Now there's also this option here to create little windows, and that would be for what's going to be the lid. And here's what's going to create the lid. You'll end up cutting this out 4 times, and then this piece out 4 times as well. And that's what's going to allow you to create the lid. And this is going to be coupled then with this piece here, which I should have had on here, but this little piece is going to help you attach the sides of your little tower lid to the top of it. So I'll explain how that works. I'll show you, of course. This die here is also going to emboss into your paper, and this portion here is actually going to guide you as to how you can then go ahead and use this smaller die to create little windows if you'd like to. And then those little windows you can decorate with the little dies included. So you have this one here, and this is an interesting die because what it does is it does cut the center, but it also cuts this little piece here, which, let me show you, that looks like so. So you'll be cutting that out as many times as you want to for your windows, and then you can couple it together with this piece here, which will give you this stunning little window like that. And then there are 2 other options. You can do this window here, and then you can of course just lay on top of your paper the smaller window. You don't have to use this to cut an aperture onto your lid. So that's really up to you. And then there is this piece. This is just decorative. This piece here cuts out little grass that you can use to cover up some of the tabs if you'd like to. There's that long vine, and then these are support pieces, so you'll end up cutting that out as many times as you would like to provide support for those little interior portions of your box. Super easy. So, oh, there's also a little window eave here, or a little window box, however you want to look at that. So I'm going to set this aside. To begin, I'm going to share with you how I have used the dies to create the panels for the lid of my little tower. So I did cut this out 4 times, as you can see here. And you can tell that I already have little windows placed on here. So to show you how I did that, I cut out this piece first, and then I lined up that one little die that I mentioned, and that is the smallest one here, to cut out that background. Okay, and as I said, the die will emboss this for you very nicely, and this is Smooth Ivory Card from Tonic Studios, so it comes together very nicely with that 300 GSM card. Then using the 2 other dies that I had mentioned, I cut out those little window panels, and then I did also use the same die to cut a piece of vellum that I had sprayed, and that spray was from Nuvo, and it is in the color gold. So of course you can take advantage of all of your Nuvo products to go ahead and make this look extra special, but this is going to allow this to also be used as a little lantern, and I can place a little votive inside, which I think would look very pretty. So that'll allow some really nice glow, and especially with that Nuvo spray on there. So again, I just cut it out using that same base die, and then I just cut it down to fit the inside of this. Okay, so this is going to go right on the back, and super easy. Now, in lieu of vellum, you could definitely use acetate, and all of those products are also available from Tonic Studios. So the vellum does come in different colors, and if you're not keen on spraying your vellum like I did, then you can definitely purchase vellum that comes with a sheen already on it, and it is a silver vellum. There's also a yellow vellum if it's still available from Tonic, which is really beautiful. But now I'm going to go ahead and adhere my little window first. And I'm just adding adhesive just to the edge. And then I'm going to adhere the second one. And of course, you could cut this out of different colors. Just bear in mind then that means you're using the same die and cutting it out twice so that you can get the outer edge to be a different color. If not, you can cut it out of white cardstock and use your Nuvo alcohol markers to change the color of that. So it's whatever you find to be comfortable. Now the instructions do say to use these pieces to adhere to the outer side of this box like so. And of course, that would have meant that I would have to adhere the window after the fact. What I decided to do is that I'm just going to adhere these to the inside instead. So that's what I'm going to do next. And I'm just going to place these along this edge. And I'm going to gauge it by the score line, that bottom little score line that this creates. And I'm just going to direct this right to that edge, because again, this is going to help us close this. Okay, so I'm first going to fold it so that I know exactly where I'm placing it, just to have a visual there. And I'm going to repeat this on all of my little sides here, and I'll be right back. Now that my little pieces here for the top are all adhered, I'm going to go ahead and apply some of these little window ledges. And of course you can cut these out in any color you like. I thought some little silver mirror card would look very cute because of the color. And you can tell that I'm using blues here. And this other card is also from Tonic Studios, and I just think the color is so absolutely beautiful. So I will list the name of that in the description bar of this video, so that if you're interested, you can of course pick that up if it's still available. Okay, I'm gonna set those aside and let them dry. While these are drying, I'm now going to take these pieces here. And again, I'm just creating the basic shape or the basic size. So I'm going to fold the little score line that the die creates for you. You want to burnish all of those, and you will need 4 of these pieces. Burnish those nicely. Then these are going to actually adhere to the base, which you would have cut out using that large die that creates this kind of flower shape with the tabs. This is also cut out of 300 GSM, so I'm just going to push those little tabs like so. And then each one of these is actually going to adhere to these tabs. So what I'm going to do is apply adhesive here. And I'm going to actually use that little fold line to kind of help guide me and make sure that that meets the proper edge right there. Then I'm going to actually fold that down as I apply the second one. So that way it actually meets the edge there as well. Okay. So as you see, I've already got one side adhered to the base. So I'm going to repeat that all the way around. Okay, once that second panel is adhered, I'm going to apply a bead of adhesive on that long tab. And this applicator, if you're interested in it, because I'm getting so many questions about it, I do have a link for it in the description bar of this video. I cannot recommend it enough. And it does come with a bottle of Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. So if you've never tried this adhesive and you're new to paper crafting, or maybe you've tried other brands and they've let you down, and you're wondering what is the secret behind a really good adhesive for paper crafting, I cannot say enough good things about Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. Go ahead and pick it up. It will be worth it. And it also comes with an empty bottle, so if you do have some adhesive left over from any brands that you might currently have, you can go ahead and refill that little bottle and then at least take advantage of that precision nozzle, because it does come in very handy. But you see how quickly I was able to put that together? I'm going to repeat that 2 more times. So I'm going to go all the way around and I'll be right back. Piece, what I've done is apply adhesive on only one tab, and again I'm going to slide in that piece with that tab facing the inside. This is going to make it a lot easier. And then that way you can apply pressure to that tab with your hand. Make sure that it creates a nice bond. Once you've secured that, then you can apply adhesive to that second tab and also to this tab here if you'd like, because you're going to be adhering that, and it's going to go all the way to the top there. And this way you can kind of guide that paper and also at the same time adhere the side tab. And of course you want to be mindful that this top tab is not overlapped so that it's not one panel taller than the other. You just want to adhere it to that adjacent panel and make sure that this is flush. Okay, just apply your pressure there. And of course you can turn it on its side, rest it along the table, and use your precision paper glider or folder or bone folder, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so you can use that tool just to burnish that, and then go ahead and adhere that very last side. Now this is going to be the very bottommost portion of your little box. A smaller little piece that you can use to decorate the inside. If that's really important to you, then of course you can do that, and you can of course also decorate the bottom with a second layer. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and create the lid, and that's where these panels are going to come in. So I'm going to apply adhesive to this edge first, and these pieces are going to come together. Once you have your long strip like this, it's up to you if you want to go ahead and decorate at this point using the little pieces that will look like grass. And of course, if you had placed those little tabs on the outside, these would have covered up those little seam lines or those little tabs. So it's up to you how you do this. I think I'm going to go for whimsy, so I am going to use those 4 different ones there. Do some of the grass because, or the vine, I should say. You can definitely go ahead and apply one of these. You can stagger them. You can just add it on its own, however you find it to look nice. So I think I'm going to apply these. I'm actually going to stagger this down a tiny little bit. This one on top. But I want this to trail here. And then I'm going to apply the second one on top. And you can place as many of these as you like. I'm not going to impact the actual construction. Those panels put together, I'm actually going to join them at the end, and for this you do have to fold and burnish that little side. And before I do that, I do have my piece that's going to create the lid. And what I want to do here is that I want to adhere that triangle portion only to the edge of this little hexagon. So I'm going to start there because it's going to help me get that nice grip before I actually close this. And I'm only aiming at the edge of that triangle. I'm not going past that. And once I have that secured, I'm going to actually fold this over and close this tab. Of course, this is personal preference. I just try to share what works for me and what makes crafting easier for me when I'm doing 3D crafts. So you do what works for you. And I'm going to now hold this until it dries, and then we'll continue the assembly. Now that this is adhered, you'll be able to see why I went ahead and adhered that one little triangle. And that's because all of these are going to adhere onto this, but it helps me get an initial grasp of that piece. And now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to follow along with the rest of them. And again, only adhering that triangle portion and aiming it right next to the initial one, making sure that it's adhered right to the edge. And then the next one. Okay, now you have finished the lid. So you should have all of those little triangles meeting up right in the center. And you'll notice, of course, that now you have these little gaps all the way around. And those are going to come in handy because that's where this piece is actually going to feed. You'll be able to feed those through just like I've done right there. And then this is going to now become the little cover of your box. And it is that simple. I mean, it's so easy to put together. Now the rest of this is going to be the little support pieces, which I do highly recommend you use. And of course you can cut those out of any color that you like. I am going to use this 300 GSM card for these, and this would have been cut out using this die here, and it does cut out 2 of them at a time, which is quite convenient. And then just make sure you line it up with the very uppermost edge, and this is going to provide that really nice support. The other thing that you can do, of course, is cut out a second little hexagon to fit here and go ahead and decorate that as you wish. Once you have your little reinforcements all adhered on the inside of this piece, the one thing I can tell you is that now it is super easy to feed this through. It made quite a difference to place those on there. It keeps the paper from kind of folding over. Then there's this little die here that I wanted to mention. It does cut out these little portions that you can use as a decorative piece on the bottom of your little box here. So you place those as you wish. I'm going to go ahead and put one here so that you get to see how pretty they look. And of course, this is where you want to use your specialty card, anything that makes it stand out and look super pretty. So you can put those around, and you don't have to put it on the entire bottom, but it's wherever you like. So I'm just going to go ahead and use, I think, just where the windows are. I'm going to put them on here. Is that you don't have to place the vines all falling down. You can have them growing from the bottom up. However, you don't want this to then impede you from opening and closing this. So what I'm going to do is cut it down here. And I'm going to adhere this to the bottom. And again, this is that ombre glitter card from Tonic Studios. I'm going to make sure that this is nice and flush. Cut away this little piece and adhere the rest right here. So that way there's a visual trail of that anyway. Okay, so that's another little option for you. Now remember that there are little flowers included with this die set. And of course you place those where you see fit. I have used Nuvo drops to decorate the centers of mine. Place these here and there, as many as you like. And some of mine you're going to notice are doubled up. I love using really, really voluminous flowers whenever possible. And of course it depends on the project, but you can definitely just use one layer like that, or you can layer them together. And I think that looks so absolutely darling. My glue's not dry yet, so they're wanting to come off. But on the glitter paper there, if you want to, of course, you can use a little drop of hot glue. But this completes one tower. Now I'm going to show you my version, how it is that I'm going to finish these off. Okay, for this next part of the tutorial, this is completely optional and just a little something that I wanted to share with you. So what I've done is I took a circle die and I cut out a circle with a radius of, or a diameter I should say, of 4.75 or 4 3/4 inches. So how you would know is that you can go ahead and fold that circle in half, and the distance from one end to the other is 4.75 or 4 3/4. So the other thing you can do is take the same circle and fold it again in half. So you have a piece that will look like this. Okay, once you've cut it with your circle die, and here you see that I've got a few. In fact, I did cut one of them out of this paper from Tonic Studios. It's the Spring Meadow double-sided pattern paper, and it's really pretty. It's got these really nice greens. So once you've folded your circle, you're going to cut away a 90-degree angle along that fold line that's going to be created. So you're going to have, if you fold it this way and then fold it again, you open it and then cut away a 90-degree angle from that fold, okay? So once you do that, and I'm going to show you with this one, and you can definitely use a pencil to mark it if you need to, but you can go ahead and fold this in half just to get your little fold lines, just like so, and then fold it in half again. Once you open it, just match up that center line. Just like that. Then take your scissors and cut away that 90-degree angle that I was referring to, okay? Just like that. Cut from the outside all the way to the center. Just like that. Okay, so you're removing this piece. Now what you can do is you're going to end up folding this to create a little cone. And that's where this is going to come in handy for the little rooftop. However, you want to reinforce this so you can actually adhere it to the roof of your little piece. And you also want to make sure that then the diameter of the bottom here is the correct size to fit on that. So what I did was that I did measure out another little circle, and I figured out that that needed to be 2 inches wide. So this is a 2-inch circle, okay? So then what I did was that I took an even larger circle, a 2.5-inch one. So I cut out a 2.5-inch circle. You can take that 2-inch circle, and if you'd like to, you can trace this all the way around, just so that you have a guide here. Okay. And again, this is just if you want to make this additional portion, which I think is going to be worth it, okay? Once you have that little 2-inch circle in the center, go ahead and take your scissors and cut little lines to meet up to that line that you drew. Okay, don't cut into the line, just go all the way up to it. And then you can do this using a cutting machine if you happen to have one, but if you don't, then this is what the tutorial should be useful for. Okay, so once you have those, you can actually cut them into little V's. So just like that, go meet up right up to that line that you've just cut. And this is just going to help when you adhere these onto that little cone that I just showed you. And you're going to cut that cone out of white cardstock, and it can be just any color or any type of cardstock that you have. That is 80 pounds or 65 pound. In fact, if you do it out of 65 pound, it's probably going to be even better. Okay, so this is what I did. I just cut it all the way around, and that's how I got this piece. And now what I'm going to do is that I'm actually going to adhere this onto this little cone. So I'm going to create my little cone just by folding this all the way around. And I want to make sure that this meets all the way. Okay, just keep twirling that, all right? Until you know that it's small enough to meet the inside, that 2-inch little diameter, okay? So you just keep twirling that until you know that this is going to fit inside of here. Okay, I'm going to keep going a little bit more. Now there are, if you use a protractor, you can do this in a much more precise manner. I'm just using, you know, just basic math principles, if you will, so as to not make it so complicated. That looks good to me, so I'm going to apply a bead of adhesive just to make sure that this is joined together. And I'm not going to worry about how it looks too much, so long as it's rather neat there on the top. I'm just going to apply some pressure there. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that fold or anything. And now I'm going to apply adhesive around that edge. You can, of course, if you'd like to, go ahead and use double-sided adhesive if that makes you more comfortable. Okay, because this is actually going to be all covered up with a second one. Okay, so you're going to cut another one of these. Make sure you have the pretty one with your decorative paper, and then this base one with the white card or whatever color card you choose. Okay, now this is going to adhere with all those little tabs. Just pull them right up to the edge, because again, this is just creating a little base. So all you have to do is hold it down and pull those little tabs all the way around. So the double-sided adhesive does come in quite handy there. It makes it a whole lot faster. All right, so just make sure all your little tabs are adhered, just like that. Super easy. Okay, and you've now created a little cone that you can place on the top of your tower. But I want to make sure that this is covered with that pretty paper. So what I'm going to do is use that measurement again, where it's half and half. Just use the circle. You can fold that in half, and then use a pencil to draw your line, and then you can draw that line perpendicularly. Just make sure that this is definitely being measured to be exactly at the center there. Okay, and you'll be able to use your grid on your table if you have one. Okay, make sure that that line is exactly horizontal, and then go ahead and do your next line there. So just cut away that one little piece of pie. Again, cutting here and cutting here. You won't need that. And now you're going to, if you want to, you can curve that edge. It's up to you. So you can definitely use that to create your little curve, okay? And then start rolling this all the way around as you did before. Okay, and you're paying attention to the that little cone that you're creating this time around. And this is going to sit right on top of here. It's going to cover all of those little tabs. And I'm just going to go ahead and apply the double-sided adhesive, just not entirely too close to that edge, just a little bit farther up, just to make it a little bit easier. And you want to make sure you use some, strong adhesive here. Okay. And I'm going to apply a little piece here to make it a little bit easier. Okay. I'm going to remove the backing on here. And then apply your second layer right on top, making sure that you're meeting that bottom edge. Okay. Because you're covering that up. All right. And it's going to want to lift up a tiny bit, but that's okay. And then keep following that all the way around. And then remove the backing here. All right, now depending on the pattern, you may want to be a little more careful. You may want to have it a little bit more fitted to the bottom. That's really up to you, but this is how I've made mine. I think it's super cute, and of course I could add a little bit of ribbon all the way around or whatever. What I did with mine also is that I created it using Craft Perfect paper. And then I did use a stencil from Tonic Studios, and it looks like this. In fact, it actually matches the design on this paper, which I thought was really cute. And I did apply Nuvo embellishment mousse in the color Aquamarine onto that paper, and it just gave it that beautiful shine. And then as you can see there, I also added a little pin. So mine's not yet adhered, but the little pin's going through the tip of this little cone and also the little base one. So you can avail yourself of any little pins that you might have. And if they have a little pretty tip just like that, then it looks even cuter. But you just want to make sure you pierce both of the papers. And of course you can add a little bead there if you want to. Okay, or keep it delicate looking like that. It's up to you. But now this is going to decorate the top, and I think it's going to make it look super cute. So then you face that little seam whichever way you like. Of course, this is not covering the entire top of this, but again, it's meant to be whimsical. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a little flag for it. And for that, I'm going to grab another die and I'm going to apply it on here. So I'll show you how I'll do that. What I'm going to do is create one that is double the height of this one here. And if you want to, you can follow along so you see how I finish this project. Okay, for this next tower, what you'll end up doing is doubling up the pieces that look like this. So I do have 4 cut out of the 300 GSM in this one shape. Then I went ahead and cut 4 more. And as you can see, I cut away a portion of the top because this is what I'm going to do to elongate the actual tower. And what I've done is that I've measured this to the height of 4 1/4 inches. So I'm going to bring it to my cutting guillotine here. Place this end here to the 4 1/4 line, and I'm going to cut that down. So I'm cutting this piece away, and I'm going to do that 4 times. So I have 4 pieces that look like this now. And what I'm going to do is that I'm first going to adhere them to these panels. Okay, so I'm going to determine the height. So now I want to measure this. The height of this is almost 5 inches tall if you count this portion here. So that's up to you whether you want to use these little tabs as part of the measurement or not. So what I want to do here is that I'm going to make it so that it is right about there. Okay, so I'm going to take a pencil, and I believe that's about 3/8 of an inch. I'll find out in just a moment. Okay, so I'm just using a little tick mark there so that I know how far up I'm actually going to adhere that second piece before I put this all together. But to measure that's about 7/16 of an inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to then line up all of my other papers so that they have the same measurement here. And then that way I know that I am adhering all of these the same. Make sure that the glue tab is always facing the same way, of course. So I'm just going to line these up. No need for a ruler or anything. Measure it out. Go ahead and apply adhesive there. And then adhere your second piece of that tower right on top. Again, I already have my little pencil lines. And you're going to do this 4 times. And now we're going to repeat the same process here, which is to kind of use that little fold line as a gauge there. I just found that to make it a whole lot easier to start applying these here and making sure that they meet the very bottom, applying pressure there to that tab to make sure it adheres. And then you are going to adhere the second tab, and for this you want to make sure that it's actually facing perpendicular to that. Okay, just like that. So now you have your base piece adhere there. Go ahead and adhere all of your other tabs all the way around. And that's what I'm going to do, and I'll be right back. For this last portion, it might be a little bit difficult to use your paper creaser, so a ruler can definitely take its place so that you can apply pressure. If you'd like to, you can just place the ruler inside of your little tower and then just press against it right where you need to. Okay, and that's just providing the support that you'll need so that you can go ahead and burnish that really nicely, and that way you can have a really nice clean finish. So one quick suggestion that I will give you is that once you complete your little tower, before you even close it off with the lid, make sure that you use the little reinforcement pieces. They look like this, that you would have cut, and adhere them to every single one of those little portions up on the top there. That's going to really make a big difference as to how that's going to feed into those little slots. And believe me, it'll save you any frustrations from closing that. And then here, because of this being longer, as you can see there, and I'm going to zoom out. Okay, maybe now you can see this a little bit better. So now there's a little bit of a space here because of the way that I cut this, and of course, you know, placed it together with two different colors of paper. But these little pieces now can come in handy as a decorative portion of that, and because they match the little windows, I think it's going to look quite nice. And of course, if you want to, you can omit this part. You could definitely also cut all of it in one color, but I just think that this is the type of project where all of those little colors will make it look super sweet. And by the way, the papers that I have been using that are the Pearlescent card are Blue Cashmere. I think this is my new favorite blue from Tonic Studios. I know that I say that a lot, but every time that I use a Pearlescent card that I haven't used before, I tend to be oohing and eyeing over the colors because they really are just so pretty. But blue is one of my favorite colors, so I could not resist using this. So I'm just gonna adhere this all the way around. And then I will show you what I'm going to do with the top. Okay, so that's what that looks like with that little edge all the way around. And I love how the light just glistens against that paper. I think it adds such a beautiful touch. So then I had mentioned before the little cones, and what I did is that I availed myself of a die from one of the Tonic craft kits, one of the latest ones. I believe it was 77. And I went ahead and took one of those little needles that are a little hat pin, and I did create a few more of these. And the last one that I had shown you, I believe, was this one. I went ahead and topped it off with some Nuvo drops, and then I did find a little pearl string that I happen to have in my stash. So I adhered that along the bottom. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create the little banner here. And I just decided to go ahead and cut that same pearlescent blue card and then just fold it almost in half, not quite half. And then I'm just going to apply a piece of double-sided tape right on there just to make it easier. And then this is going to go right in the center here. And of course you could add a little drop of hot glue if you would like to, that's up to you. Or you can add a bead as I had done for the other ones. There's so many different types of beads that you can get now. I happen to have this one that had a little heart shape on it, and I thought that was so sweet. So I'll be adding that to my other one. And then I think for this tower, what I did was I used specialty paper from Tonic Studios, and it almost resembles pebbles, but this is a handmade paper. Look at how gorgeous that is. So I did go ahead and cut that and applied it on there the same way I had done before, and that's going to fit right on top. But first I'm going to make my little flag, and I actually think I might want to add it in this color as well. I had a little green one. Well, this is a mint blue is what it's called, I believe. So this is a smaller one. And that one I am going to fold in half because it's going to form a smaller one. Place that one first, kind of toward the top. And then underneath that, I will place the longer one. And of course, if you were doing this for a birthday or a baby shower, you could stamp onto these little banners, baby boy or baby girl, if you were going to do it in maybe some pinks or lavenders, whatever colors. You could certainly do it in a combination of blue and pink, and just add a bunch of little roses. I think that would be so cute. So this is how I'm going to do mine. Oh, I love it. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little tiny drop of hot glue here. I don't want this to move, and I'm hoping that that's enough. Now, of course, this pin is adhering or poking into 2 layers of cardstock, which is what I had shown you earlier. Okay, and I want that seam to kind of face the back. My little cone that I had made, adding a little bit of hot glue just to make it easier. And that's going to go right on top. And as you see, it's not very big because I didn't want it to be too tall, considering how tall the tower was going to be when I had this all said and done. But I think it's so darling, especially grouped with the other one. And I am going to adhere the top here to this one. Super cute. Okay, for this last portion here, I just wanted to share with you one idea. I went ahead and decided that I was going to have my little towers sit on a base, and I did create this using the base that you can make with the Twirling Teacups die set. So if you happen to have that, you can create this little base. And all I did was omit the little portion here that would have a hole in it by just tracing the die and adhering that little decorative panel all the way around. So I'll show you what I'm going to do with this, which is I have one of the towers that I created. I went ahead and added the little flowers all along, and then the little vines on the bottom magnet to the bottom. So for this, I'm simply going to use a piece of double-sided adhesive, and I'm going to place that here, just kind of in the center. You don't have to be too precise, but if you can get it in the center, that'd be great. Then I'm going to cover that up with a little octagon that I cut out using the same die available in the set. It's the larger of the 2 octagons if you need to know the exact size. And then I'm going to cover up that little magnet. Okay. Layer. I'm holding it here, and then I'm going to place the second magnet right there. So whichever side is pretty is what you want to face the tower. Okay, then I'm going to adhere this here as well. Now just make sure it's nicely centered because you don't want this peeking out of any of the sides. Okay, you can now remove this. Take the adhesive cover off of that. And then here's the little base that I had created. I already have 2 of the towers on here. I was playing around with this for placement. And I'm going to gauge where I want the 3rd one. So you'll be doing this 3 times if you make 3 towers, however many towers you've decided to create. I am now going to apply adhesive on here, on the bottom. You can be quite generous if you want to. Although if you're using Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, then you already know a little bit goes a long way. And if you see there, I just knocked my other little tower, but did you see how quickly that came right back? That's because I already have magnets there. So now I'm going to gauge the distance here, as I had said before. Now I'm not measuring anything, I'm just doing what looks right to my eyes. And I'm applying a little bit of pressure there. And then I'm gonna lift this straight up. Okay. Now I'm going to make sure that I burnish this. Now, if this is an eyesore for you, then by all means, you can cover that up with a pretty piece of paper. Okay, and you now have a base for your little tower, which can twirl around. And if you're using these for a party and you happen to be giving them away as little goodies, you know, filled with little goodies inside or whatever you like, then each person can take away a tower. And of course, you know, that's just an option. They'll still sit nicely on a table. They wobble just a tiny little bit, but that's okay. And then of course you can use whatever strength magnet you prefer. Tonic Studios has 2 different sizes for you to choose from. You could use either one on this. Just remember that the larger the surface area, the more magnets you need. That's just, you know, a little tip there. I loved making these. I think it's so much fun. So I am going to be sharing photos. I mean, when you're crafting, you just sometimes have to improvise a little bit. I know that I do that quite a bit, and I'm very comfortable doing so. It doesn't bother me one bit. But I hope that this tutorial has been helpful to you. I'm going to share photos because it's really hard to share this from this perspective, but there is the result. It's that beautiful little trio of towers, and of course now on the bottom I can add little flowers around here. I can take advantage of other die sets from Tonic Studios and have a little play, just looking to see what more I can add to this. So in the end, you'll see the photos, and as I always say, I hope that this has been helpful to you, that you can be inspired and be blessed, and I thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.